all good people are asleep and dreaming.
Why is motherhood not enough for women? Is this a new phenomena where women sitting at home with their kids, pre-mass leisure time, thinking about, oh, I wish I could do so much more with myself? And I will blame a lot of this on the feminist ideas that a lot of women hold today. And I have a friend who became a mother, and the first question other women asked her was, when are you going back to work? She never worked. She found a man who is working full-time and wants someone to raise their children. It's interesting because we live in a post-feminist world now, meaning we have been liberated from the kitchens, and not because of philosophy or dogma, but because of inventions like the washing machine. And some people might think that's, materialistic or petty. And I went to art school, and we had this artist duo come into our class and talk about how America infested its capitalist evils onto post-Soviet Russia, and women were lining up in desperation for their machines and their washing machines to get a little bit of the capitalism. And I was just like, have you tried to wash a load of clothes or homemade diapers with your hands? You fucking privileged, and I'm using that in a very, very appropriate context here, piece of shit. Anyways, thank you, the people who invented washing machines, and thank you, capitalism. Leisure time. Leisure time gives women a lot of time to think about and do things aside from being mothers. And feminism has created an expectation that we do all those things. But guess what? If you do all those things, you're not going to do any one of those things very well. The feminist argument is, oh, there's not enough women in history. There's not enough women who invented stuff. There's not enough female painters and politicians and movers and changers. This is because of the patriarchy, and women weren't allowed to be in these positions. There's a much simpler explanation. Historically, women have not occupied many positions of power because they spent the best years of their life raising the men that ended up occupying those positions of power. So my little boy just woke up. I hope you don't mind. Things like that. And yes, objectively, I think it's safe to say that mothers have been and continue to be underappreciated. But that's not specific to women or mothers. A lot of things that should be more appreciated are underappreciated. For example, people who have contributed to Linux, which literally runs most of the systems that we use, are totally underappreciated compared to Steve Jobs. I also want to touch base on issues that women encounter when they do choose to have a family. And I think there's more resentment for your kids and more feelings of isolation and loneliness and depression for mothers in this time in history than ever before. And I speculate this because before, mothers made up entire communities that were interdependent on each other and that helped each other. And today, we kind of live very isolationist lifestyles. You have to make a group on some online website in order to ever even meet anybody these days. Oh, there he goes. Don't touch the camera, okay? So I can see how a woman who just had a baby can feel incredibly alone. That family and that community structure is just not in place anymore. Another issue is that not many women have kids at the same time or around each other. Like, if none of your friends have kids, but you do, you will ultimately be excluded from a lot of activities, and you will lose touch in terms of having commonalities with those peers. So it's very normal, especially now, for women to get feelings of anger and resentment. If you actually document how much of your freedom is spent on Facebook and Twitter and drinking and going out and feeling like shit in the morning, like, a lot of your freedom is not spent productively enough to feel upset about it being gone after you have a child. Obviously, there's exceptions. There's people who are, incredibly determined and work day and night and have creative endeavors. But the majority of the population is not that. And I would say the majority of Western women do have feelings of loss of freedom when they have a child, even though their freedom was spent doing pretty frivolous things to begin with. So we think about motherhood in this, box, like either you're a mom with no free time, or you're free and you can do whatever you want. And for most people, doing whatever you want doesn't actually lead to anything good or productive. And also, we always forget about the gains of motherhood. Nobody talks about this. Like, once you get into the groove of it, and it does take a little adjustment, it certainly does. And there are natural, because of your hormones, there are natural feelings. Don't touch the camera, please. Thank you. Spending most of my time with a little individual that I helped create, it's indescribable. I cannot describe it to you, and you just have to experience it for yourself. It's pretty spectacular, and I still am able to do some of the things I used to do, but the gains for the sacrifice of all that free time, well, they're ever changing, because your little baby is growing and changing every day. And it's incredibly rewarding. There are obviously moments of darkness, but it's rewarding on a level that is beyond the physical. It's rewarding on like a meta level. And I don't know, I hope you one day are able to experience it. I was gonna end this video with tips for new parents, but I think I'll do a different video focusing on that. And I would love to know if you guys are interested in seeing that, and if you have any specific questions, whether you have kids or whether you're thinking of having kids, please post them below. I'll actually read my comments, and it'll help me formulate my next video. Thank you.